Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and in today's video we're going to be covering the next build that I'm going to be pushing to the max, and that is cast on crit with physical based spells. So there'll be a bit of action in the background here, but the one thing I wanted to really highlight at the start here is that the clear from explode when you synergize it just right is actually still super duper good. You still can get those explosion chains if you play the right setup with it. As you can see there, pretty good. You know, obviously this character's pretty early days, but this is T16 Delirium Mirror, so it's actually pretty good for, you know, where it's at right now. It's not high level, and I thought I would introduce it. So this character is loosely based on Grimro's kind of cast on crit character, but he didn't really push it that far, and I plan to push it well and truly much further than he did. And the goal for this character is going to be to speed farm Guardians as quickly as possible. Right now it's an assassin. That may change in the future to a raider or a pathfinder, but it is an assassin right now. You're about to see one of the big issues of the build right now, and that is damage. But overall, it should be able to wombo combo one-shot most of the Guardians with flasks up. And that is actually really awesome. It is a cast on crit based build using a cast on crit chain from the Cauterizer, which we'll jump into in a second here after we go into game. So in a previous video, I've of course talked about explosion. My previous experience with the with an explode chest and an explode bow was pretty damn bad. But now I'm using Athna's Gentle Touch, and I can tell you, man, this thing feels amazing to use. Just coupling it with you know, elemental conversion and also some extra Fizz as extra elemental is insane. It completely changed the whole screen in some cases, and when you get into the legions, it does a really good job at chaining them as well. The only downside of Athna's Gentle Touch is that it doesn't chain quite as far off the screen due to the mechanic of having to curse an enemy for it to be able to explode. So it doesn't work perfectly, but it does work pretty damn good. And I do think it's a fairly good thing that you can strap on any build that struggles with clear now, and it will definitely amp it up to the max. This build without explode definitely feels pretty bad, but then you put the Athna's on there and it really does clean up everything. So as I mentioned in a previous video though, for explode to feel really good, you do need to couple it with something else. Just having explode by itself isn't going to feel good. So generally you want to couple it with either multiple layers of explode, so maybe like Athna's and the chest and the bow, or two one-handers with synthesized weapons. Or more likely what you're going to want to go for is Ignite Prolift plus explode, or explode plus either Herald of Ice or Herald of Ash. So I'm using Herald of Ash in the background here, and that really does make it really feel really good and chunky, and it does kind of spread the explode out pretty damn nice. Without the Herald of Ash on there, it doesn't feel too great. And another good thing about Herald of Ice though is it does have quite high base damage if you scale it well, especially as an assassin or an occultist, and that will also feel quite nice as well. So explode is back on the menu in the form of Athna's Gentle Touch, and it is much easier to kind of build around than the Impulsor Storm's Gift, because physical damage is inherently much easier to scale than elemental damage. There's not really any ways that you can, like, you know, 2x your lightning damage with an Impulsor, but as a physical based build, it's much easier to, you know, just get a bunch of fizzes extra, you know, Headhunter scales it, all sorts of stuff, just scale it to the max, and you can get those massive, nice, really, you know, kind of explosions, which is what we're going for here. So overall, as I mentioned, this character's purpose will be to farm Guardian maps really fast. Right now, he's actually pretty slow when he's moving around, when he hasn't attacked anything, which is definitely a problem I'm going to have to solve. But let's explain the character in general here. So as I mentioned, this loosely uses Grimro's kind of build. I thought I'd start there as he was the creator, and I thought I'd kind of take it from there. I've already started to modify a few things, but I think I'm going to modify things a lot further. So overall, we are a cast on crit build. We're using the Cauterizer for one of our cast on crit setups, and we're also using a 6-link for our other. So we're using Blade Fall, Blade Blast, and our first 6-link cast on crit will be to trigger Blade Fall. So right now you got the cast on crit, you got the Cyclone, and you got the Blade Fall, and a few support gems to make it juicy, and that basically creates a bunch of blades around you. And then of course in our other 6-link here we have the Cauterizer, which we've got, you know, Early Focus, Blade Blast, you know, cast on crit, and a bunch of other high damage support gems. Now what you might notice is that you don't have to have any attack linked to the Blade Blast in the Cauterizer. And that is because of a mechanic that has recently seen a rise in popularity, and that is trigger chaining. So you can see here that says trigger level 5, draw Shockwave on melee hit if you have at least 150 strength. So I do indeed have 150 strength. So essentially, whenever I hit with my Cyclone, I will trigger the Gore Shockwave, and that counts as an attack, and if it crits, will also trigger the Cast on Crit setup, which is incredibly powerful, and it definitely does make for a pretty strong build. The reason this is particularly powerful, though, is of course because you can lay down all the blades with your low cooldown, cast on crit on your chest, and then blow them all up every, 1 to 0.8 seconds with the Blade Blast in the Cauterizer, making this a very, very effective setup for Blade Blast, which is obviously one of the strongest skills in the game right now. So that's the kind of setup here. I guess I'll talk through it a little bit more. So we're using Herald of Ash rings with, of course, Herald of Ash. And that is to scale, obviously the Asenaths to make sure the explosions feel really, really good, but also to get an extra chunk of damage. If you actually look at the Blade Blast here, it's 31k right now. Take Herald of Ash off, it goes down to half of that. So definitely a lot of damage is coming from Herald of Ash. These can definitely be improved and divined and, and all sorts of stuff like that, but it is very, very strong. And I fully expect that the build will be able to smash endgame very, very easily once I get all my skill points. So right now we are level 86. We do have quite a long way to go and a lot of points to pick up. Right now I'm taking a few redundant nodes, which Jun took, so I'm actually still tinkering around with things. Definitely very, very early days, but I thought you guys would enjoy taking a look. Moving forward though, I do want to talk about a few other things here, and that is the fact that, I don't think I'm going to be using Headhunter moving forward, I don't think, due to the fact that, in Guardian Invitations, for example, Headhunter doesn't really help you, and in addition to that, your Headhunter buffs will more than likely fall off in, the Elder Guardians, and even some cases the Shaper Guardians, but we'll have to see about that. So I don't think I'm going to be using Headhunter on this build moving forward, which will reduce the price of the build significantly. Overall though, I think that the build may eventually become a Raider, and the reason for that is because Raider is obviously on the dex side of the tree, so it gets access to a bunch of dexterity and also accuracy nodes, and that allows you to drop this amulet here, which essentially is the heart and soul of the build right now as an assassin. So one of the big issues of assassin-based cast on crit builds is accuracy. In order to be able to crit with an attack, you first have to hit. And in order to hit, you obviously have to have a pretty damn high chance to hit. In the event you don't hit, if you're playing Cyclone and you Cyclone into a pack and you don't blow it up, chances are you're dead. So you need to have a very, very high chance to hit, and to basically circumvent that, we're using the Ephagon right now. Ephagon essentially means that if enemies around you are blinded, the hits that you attack on them, they cannot be evaded. So right now, I've obviously got this chest piece here. Nearby enemies are blinded. This chest piece is completely trash. And I would really like to move away from having to blind enemies. And part of that could come from being a Raider. It would also solve the massive movement speed issues we have right now with the build. But it would obviously come at the cost of some critical strike, which you definitely will have to make up in other areas. So it's going to be a bit of a balancing act, and it will be pretty interesting to see where the build ends up going. But the first things first, though, we need to fill out, obviously, all the resists, and we also need to fill out the damage so that we can, blow up Guardians and all sorts of stuff like that, and then we can tinker around with the rest. Right now, I'm pretty satisfied with the clear. Very, very happy with the pack chaining and also the pack damage. Overall, it feels really, really good, and I'm pretty damn happy with how the build's going so far. It's just that that movement speed, maybe getting a little bit more area, and obviously a ton more damage, and we will be pretty damn good to go overall. But yeah, critical strike is definitely going to be something that we amp up. So you can see here that we do get the nice, which is pretty nice. But you can notice that it does have a bit of a range on it. The range comes from the Asenaths, needing to curse on hit with the old, don't have a phrase fast right now either, with the old temporal chains. But overall, the build's looking pretty nice. Hopefully you guys are excited to see where it goes. Next video, hopefully we'll be smashing, and we'll have Guardians in the background there, and then the video after that, hopefully we'll be one-shotting Maven and all sorts of stuff like that. So hopefully you guys are excited to follow along. Explodey chest is benched, but Asenath is definitely very much on the table. It feels really, really good to use, and I'd highly recommend picking a pair up if you're looking for that Explodey fix. I imagine these would probably also feel really, really damn good on Blade Vortex, and I might have to try that out at a later date. But right now, I I really wanted a build that could smash Guardians and farm them, so that's what I'll be going for now. That's why I went cast on crit to begin with, because you can achieve such high damage numbers. So hopefully you guys are interested in seeing where the build goes. If you're enjoying the kind of build videos, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you have any other build suggestions for maybe after I finish this one as well, make sure you drop them down below. I'm always on the lookout for a new shiny build, and this one I fully expect to be an absolute blaster, and I can't wait to see how it goes. So until next time, guys, cheers.